Greetings, human intellects of this world. From the earliest days of human existence, there has been an unrelenting drive to unravel the mysteries that surround your world. Throughout history, human thinkers have challenged established beliefs and pushed the limits of human knowledge in a relentless pursuit of understanding the mysteries of your world's behavior. One such figure, a prominent human intellect of the 18th century, challenged traditional beliefs and transformed the way in which humans perceive and understand your universe. By emphasizing an empiricist stance towards nature, he believed that all knowledge stems from sensory experience, and that your understanding of the world is limited by the confines of your five senses. His revolutionary ideas shattered the established beliefs of his era, igniting a new direction of scientific exploration and philosophical inquiry. His influence extended far beyond your fields of philosophy and science, permeating fields such as politics, economics, and literature, and pushing the boundaries of human understanding. The enigmatic influence of his ideas lingers, beckoning you to question the very assumptions and beliefs that underpin your understanding of the world. His impact on the human intellect looms large, casting a long shadow that will be felt for generations to come. His name is David Hume. David Hume expanded on and strengthened Locke's skepticism on the possibility of a necessary knowledge of nature, a knowledge that would enable humans to know and predict a priori, namely, without experience, the behavior of all things in your world, a wisdom that is associated with the underlying nature of things, or the atomic configurations and motions of atoms, as Locke thought, that are hidden and responsible for the very behavior of things that humans observe. But Hume consistently dismissed the idea that knowledge about atomic structures and interactions alone would be enough to comprehend the world and its essence, even if it were feasible to obtain such knowledge. Even if your faculties were suited to pierce into the internal fabric of bodies, according to Hume, you couldn't learn about a necessary connection between occurrences. The most you could hope to discover is that specific atomic configurations and movements have always been constantly conjoined to specific macroscopic effects. Yet knowing that a continuous conjunction has been observed is not the same as knowing that a specific motion must produce a specific effect. Hume believed that Locke was mistaken when he said that, if humans knew the atomic structure of gold, they would be able to infer, without having to conduct a test, that this substance must be soluble in aqua regia, but not aqua fortis. Hume's rejection of the possibility of a necessary knowledge of nature was built on a solid foundation of premises that challenged the traditional views of knowledge and causality. His belief that knowing the observed conjunction of events was not sufficient to infer a necessary connection between them challenged the assumptions of thinkers like Locke. Three explicitly stated premises served as the foundation for Hume's rejection of the possibility of necessary knowledge of nature, or the knowledge about the necessary connections that bind a conjunction of phenomena together. Like the fact that the submersion of gold into aqua regia is followed by the fact of the dilution of it. What binds these facts together constitutes knowledge of the necessary connection or the necessary mechanisms that bind them together. Now, these premises were a. that all knowledge can be divided into the categories of relations of ideas and matters of fact, which are mutually exclusive. b. that all knowledge of matters of fact is given in, and arises from, sense impressions. And c. that the necessary knowledge of nature would presuppose knowledge of the necessary connectedness of events, namely knowledge about causality. Statements regarding the relations of ideas and statements about matters of facts, according to Hume, differ in two ways. The first relates to the different kinds of claims about truth that can be made for the two different kinds of assertions. Some assertions regarding the relations of ideas must be true, or necessary truths. For instance, the statement all squares have four sides is a necessary truth. This is because the definition of a square includes the requirement of having four sides of equal length, and it is impossible for a square to exist without fulfilling this requirement. The truth of this statement is not dependent on any particular instance or observation, but rather is true by definition. A self-contradiction is created in your intellect when the definition is maintained for a particular square, while the conclusion that it has four sides is rejected. Contrarily, claims concerning matters of facts can never be more than contingently true. A denial of an empirical fact, like the sun will not rise tomorrow, is not a self-contradiction because the circumstances could have been different. The method used to determine whether or not the various types of claims are true or false is the second point of distinction. Statements about relations of ideas, or how ideas relate to each other, can be proven true or false without using any real-world evidence. For instance, it is clear that the statement, a triangle has three sides, is true by definition, because a triangle is defined by humans as a polygon with three sides. On the other hand, claims regarding matters of fact must be proven to be true, or false, through the use of observational evidence. By merely contemplating the meaning of words of such claims, one cannot establish the truth of a claim that something has occurred, or will occur. The statement "it will rain tomorrow" cannot be proven true just by thinking about the words. Instead, you need to observe the weather patterns, and make a prediction based on the available evidence to determine if the statement is true, or false. Similarly, the statement "the apple on the table is red." This statement cannot be proven true or false just by thinking about how the words or ideas relate to each other. You need to observe the apple on the table to see if it is actually red or not. If it is red, then the statement is true, but if it is not red, then the statement is false. Observational evidence is necessary to determine the truth of this statement, and Hume was quite right. Now, Hume argued that Descartes was mistaken in asserting that concepts such as mind, God, body, and universe are innate. Only sense impressions, in Hume's view, may provide knowledge of matters of fact. Hence, he mirrored Aristotle's dictum that nothing in the intellect comes from the senses without first being experienced there. According to Hume, all of your ideas are nothing more but copies of your experiences, or, to put it another way, that it is impossible for you to think of anything that you have not already experienced. Furthermore, Hume limited the kind of ideas or concepts that can be derived from your sense organs. He made the claim that the mind's only function in producing knowledge is to combine, transpose, augment, or diminish the ideas that are copied from sense impressions. Any thought that isn't a copy of a sense impression, or the end result of a compounding, transposing, augmenting, or diminishing process, is presumably eliminated. Hume himself disregarded ideas like a vacuum, substance, lasting selfhood, and necessary connectedness of events, because your sense organs cannot observe these ideas in your environment. So science, according to Hume's theory, starts with sense impressions and can only include concepts that are constructed in some way from sensory input. Hume recognized that the development of comprehensive theories, such as Newton's mechanics, is accomplished by a creative insight that cannot be reduced to a compounding, transposing, augmenting, or diminishing of concepts copied from impressions. Nonetheless, he denied the idea that any of these theories could be necessary truths. Now, to sum up, according to Hume, knowledge of your world comes from experience alone. Simple ideas about your world are born from simple impressions that you experience through your senses. These impressions are clear, vivid, and lively in your intellect. On the other hand, ideas are copies of these impressions, but they lack the same level of vividness. For instance, when you think of a tree or an apple, those ideas are copies of the sensory experiences of seeing or feeling a tree or an apple. Complex ideas now are formed through the synthesis of simpler ideas that correspond to simpler impressions. Your idea of a centaur, according to this view, is made by combining the simple ideas of a human and the simple idea of a horse. However, Hume's view is much stricter. The idea of an apple, for instance, is not a simple idea that corresponds to a simple impression of an apple. Instead, the idea of an apple is a complex idea too, that is constructed through the combination of multiple sensory impressions, such as the taste, smell, sight, touch, and even the sound of the biting of an apple. In other words, every object that you can think of is formed through a combination of the 5 senses that make up your impressions of things. In conclusion, the Hume's view that all knowledge is derived from sensory experience is the core belief of a notorious view you call empiricism, the theory that all knowledge is derived from sensory experience. Such an empiricist philosophy of knowledge, championed by thinkers like Hume among others, dare to question even your most fundamental concepts, such as causation. A concept so important that through which humans impose order and structure on the cosmos to make sense of the seemingly random events and phenomena that surround them. Without causation, humans would be unable to identify patterns or correlations between events, or to make accurate predictions about the future based on past experience. Your world would be a confusing and unpredictable place, where events occurred without rhyme or reason, and there was no way to make sense of the chaos for human intellect. So, to question causation is to challenge not just a single idea or a concept, but the very foundations of human understanding of the world. Something that Hume did in his book, An Enquiry Concerning Human Understanding, and forced thinkers of his time to confront the limits of human knowledge and to consider the possibility that the most fundamental assumptions about your world may be flawed, or incomplete, which in turn demands a penetrating and skeptical examination of whether certain knowledge about your world is attainable at all.